I'm Mr. Ashley and welcome to Mr. Ashley's Viewmasters of the Universe. So what we're going to be covering in this episode is we're going to be looking at the Model E Viewmaster. Now, in terms of aesthetics and design, it's probably one of my favorite because it's just a beauty to behold. I know that seems a little bit nerdy, but it is probably realistically a child of its time. It reminds me of like an old school like car from the 50s, and you'll see why. This is the Model E. Now, it's got this beautiful kind of V-shape cut into it with the faux ivory handle, and it is really, really just lovely to look at. Now, the camera doesn't do it justice, and what I mean by that is this is kind of like, it's this very dark speckled brown color, and when you see it, oh, you can really see it there. Let's wipe some of this dust off. You can see that kind of speckly brown color there. And the Model E was a replacement for the Model C. They did have a Model D, and the Model D was made like a version of the Model C with a focusing lens in it. And I think that had a lot to do with people who had vision problems, or you wanted to really make the picture really, really crisp. So they made like a focusing Viewmaster, and that was Model D. Now the Model E was meant to be the replacement for Model C, and so this was quite heavily mass produced. When you look online, especially when it comes to vintage Viewmasters, the ones that generally come up from what I've seen, especially in New Zealand where I live, is either Model E's or, Model E's or alternatively Model G. Those are the ones that generally come up. One of the cool things about Model E, other than its beautiful design, is the materials that it's made out of. It's another Bakelite Viewmaster, and this was produced from 1956 to 1960, so it was a relatively short run, which is quite impressive because when you think about it, like I was just saying, there are so many out there on the market, and they were only in production for about 4 years before they moved on to the next model. This one that I've got here is a Belgian model made in Brussels at the Sawyers plant. Viewmaster in those days was owned by a company called Sawyers, and they were the ones that produced Viewmaster. And there's this little label there, and in between here you can see made in Belgium. There are a lot of different variants with this one too. And what they call this is the ivory knob. It's not really ivory. It's like a Bakelite substitute, but that's just the color scheme. And this one is brass. The variants in color that it came in were really very different from Viewmaster to Viewmaster. Even Belgium used different kinds of materials to, well, not different materials, but different color schemes to the United States. In Belgium, the colors were red, grey, cream, and maroon. I want to say this is probably maroon. But they also carried the same color schemes as the Model C. And I'll put a card to Model C up here so you can hear that one as well. Now, this viewer was also manufactured at the Viewmaster plant in Australia for a short time in a basic brown Bakelite colour, and versions were manufactured in France and Spain as well. And when I first introduced the video, I said it had styling like it is the 1950s, and I think the thing that sets that for me is this sweep. For some reason it reminds me of like an old Chevy or something like that, you know, with the big wings off the back, like unnecessary but beautiful at the same time. And when you consider it, like, this is very straightforward and to the point, very ergonomic. That dip in there is so you can easily remove the reel. Now, this is a similar thing, but rather than just putting like a little finger tab in there, let's just put a whole V in there. And part of me wishes that they still did that. Like when you're looking through it, you even kind of seem it's like you're putting on a superhero mask. Maybe that's just me. This, in terms of my set and my collection, this is one of the most crisp actions of the whole lot, and that's saying something considering it was started being mass produced in 1956 to 1960. So, doing the maths, that's like we're already almost 60 years old. So there's just a slight sound of the metal on metal as it glides past itself, and it's really, really nice to look through too. It's probably got the best focus and the best vision of all of my Viewmasters, beyond a shadow of a doubt. And this is my precious, and I actually still have the Model E box, and the Model E box is a beauty to behold too, and it just shows how much they put thought into all of this stuff, like advertising all the things that you could view with the Viewmaster. I've got the nativity story at home, and there's Miss Muffet, and that's from Mother Goose's Rhymes reel. You got some of the scenic view ones there. I would say that's probably something like Niagara or something like that. And you've got Italy and Venice there, and Wild Animals and Leaning Tower of Pisa, and that's from the fairy tale series, Red Riding Hood, Cowboy series. I want to say that's the Cisco Kid and Pancho. And then you've got your top lid there with the Model E on the box. One of the things that stands out for me, especially with these older models, is, and we'll do a comparison when I get down to my more modern Viewmasters, these were made to last. This was an investment, not only in the product, but in the entertainment value of your family and of your children. Now, these generally were marketed toward adults first, because what you'd do is you'd go overseas, buy a travel reel, send it back to the family, and you'd put it in, and your family would be able to see all the places you'd been, like the Grand Canyon and all that kind of cool stuff. And then the vision was like, oh wow, we can like, children are just as interested. Why don't we start making fairy tale reels? And so this was an investment in the family's entertainment, because this is obviously around the same time as television comes out and all that kind of stuff, or TV comes into its own. The mid-50s, 60s, that where TV is starting to get a grip on everyone. And then you have like this beautiful thing like a Viewmaster, where you can take a trip to the other side of the world in the lounge and view it at your own leisure, and see where your friends have been and family have been. And I went there, look at this is the Grand Canyon, guys, look at that, how amazing is that? And so they're made to last, and they were made to be used by the whole family, and you could keep them forever. And that's how I ended up with this one. This isn't a family one, this is someone else's one that I bought off them, but it had been in the family for a long time, and so it's quite precious to me, because there's something about owning something that somebody else has had and enjoyed, which makes it special in and of itself. This has some history. This has had someone else looking into it and enjoying it as much as I like sharing it with my children and looking into it myself. So it's like a window into the past. So that's the Model E. And like I said, we'll do a comparison of like things like the Model E and the Model L and the Model O, and you'll see a very, very different quality of manufacturing, I suppose you'd say, is the best way to put it. We won't get into it too much now, otherwise I could talk forever. But for now, thanks for stopping by. If you like this video, hit like. If you want to subscribe, please hit subscribe. You may know someone that's into Viewmasters as much as Mr. Ashley is. So please share that video with them, and let them put something in the comments line to tell me what they'd like to see. They might even want to say that they've had some of these Viewmasters before. But for now, like I said, I'll see you later, and see you next time on Mr. Ashley and the Viewmasters of the universe.